So next on the list, everybody knows that the Australia Open is happening at the moment. It started on January 3rd and it would end until January 30.
Go sports.
Go sports. When everybody knows that also Australia is known to have intense COVID protocols.
Okay.
And one of the rules was that all players, staffs, and members had to be vaccinated. We have Novak Djokovic, who is 34 years old. He is #1 player in the game, and he tested positive for COVID twice, recently and over the summer. He is supposed to play, and in order to come play for the tournament, he had to get an exemption for the vaccination card. So obviously doesn't have the vaccine.
So basically, a whole bunch of people who are pro-vaccine are attacking. I can't even really pronounce his last name. Djokovic.
The D
sorry,
is
I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
There's some Australians that are upset with him that he can't get vaccinated, but we do.
But like, you know what I don't understand about this is like, just because you're a celebrity or an athlete, you are so like what you do with your own personal life and your own decisions are so like viewed by the world that when people don't realize that this is a human being, just because they're a celebrity, an athlete, or a person in the open of the cameras and that world doesn't make them any different. They're just like you and I. They have their own, emotions and decisions and opinions, and they're not going to like navigate their world for everybody else. People don't know what he's been through, what he feels, what his morals are, his principles, and his responsibilities. And now he's getting hate for that. And in general, that's just like how our world is. People are constantly getting hate for just no reason.
There was a quote that he says, and it piggybacks of what you're saying. Quote, "The freedom of choice is essential for everyone, whether it's me or somebody else. Doesn't really matter whether it's vaccination or anything else in life. You should have the freedom to choose, to decide what you want to do. In this particular case, what you want to put in your body." End of quote.
My body, my choice. Exactly. Like the fact that he even has to stand up for himself and say something like this, that makes me sad. This is just how it should be. Everyone should know this. Everyone should feel this way. Whoever is hating on him, what is their entitlement to talk about something that has nothing to even do with them?
I mean, at the end of the day, hey, if you want me to come bring my talents to your country, then I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm a free man. And you don't want to let me in? Go fuck yourself. You can take your tennis match and stick it up your fucking ass. That's what I'd tell him if I was him. Yeah, it cost me millions of dollars, and it's easy for me to say that, but it's like, if I don't want to take that shit, I'm not taking it.
We're going why this is getting very bad for Djokovic is...
something went sideways on him, right?
Reportedly being investigated by the Australian Border Force for allegedly submitting a false travel declaration. He was not supposed to travel, and he did in the last 14 days prior to the date he was supposed to arrive in Australia. Now they're investigating this part, and there is a picture of him with a fan. I think it was taken in December 25th.
What day did he fly in there?
Oh, over here it says on late January 5th. He landed on January 5th. So
all I would have told him is like, hey, if you want me to come play your fucking tournament, I'll be there in the 5th. And anything that happens prior to that, it's none of your fucking business. If you don't like it, stick your tournament up your ass. There you have it. That'd be my response.
Wait, I'm reading this conversation.
I don't care how much money it costs me. Fuck you. I'm not coming then.
Yep.
But more so, like what you're saying, it's now... they're watching his every move. It's just like, it's for people just to talk about something. And what people like to talk about is unfortunately bringing people down.
This is important though, because this is the fundamental human right. Am I a free man or free woman? Or am I a slave and a serf of the state? At the end of the day, as Americans are the equals of their government. We are equals of our government. That's why we have guns. It's not open for a discussion. The government does not get to have a monopoly on force in the United States of America. That's why every citizen is part of the militia of the people. And the founding fathers, when you read what they wrote, they said the militia of the people were in fact the people themselves. They meant to have everybody was supposed to be armed. Those were their words. That was their intent. That's why it was in the Constitution. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to do it or not, you're supposed to be competent, safe, with pistols and rifles, the latest firearms. It's just your duty.
I don't know, man. I feel bad. I want to give him a hug and a kiss on the forehead, too.
Good for him for standing up, though. But if it was me, that's why they've made international travel just sucks.
I think just being famous sucks.
The attention is always on you. Any bad move,
Like
the media or anyone
Angelina
else is gonna look
Jolie's
different.
Well, you can
freaking
take a
nail
private
breaks and
plane.
it's on Channel 5 News. Like, what the fuck is that all about?
Nail freak.
No, it's serious because it's really feeding the consumers trash, like, and negativity. Again, everything, you know, me and energy. Like,
Well, a lot of people.
the energy transfer from the news and these articles and these, you know, the magazines of this, it's bringing things and people in such a form from a negative light, which is so fucked up. Like, I don't understand that. Now we're watching his every move. Now we're finding out he was supposed to travel. He traveled and he wasn't. Like, there's people in the world that care so much about this rather than being solution based. Why are people so stuck in like the past? What is like the solution to this so we can actually avoid, you
Just
know,
say
actually
no to
being able to travel
fascism?
when we can? Why aren't people focused on that? But no, we're too busy trying to hate on an incredible tennis player who's done a lot of great shit in his life and for his country. But we're gonna care about this.
According to Yahoo Sport, this sentence right here popped out to me. The date of the first positive COVID PCR test was recorded on December 16, 2021. And there were photos that were uploaded on social media which appeared Djokovic without a mask at public events after that day.
God, he didn't have a mask.
But he tested for
Worst news I've ever heard.
Tested positive for COVID. Now, Corey, what is your opinion about this situation right now?
Free men and women don't wear face masks.
But he tested positive for COVID.
Well, if I
Show me the
say
test.
the
Show me the test where it
answer
says that
I
he
wanna
was positive
say,
for
I
COVID.
have to go
True.
to the members
It
area.
just says here
Where's the test that it shows that he was positive for COVID?
that information.
Show me right now. I want to see December 16th on it.
I don't know if it says.
Call his doctor right now.
Get him on the phone.
Get him on the phone, please. Tell him this is a very important phone call.
They would never release exams like that, correct? No, right?
So then I could write an article right now saying he tested positive on January 5th and people would believe it. So what is true? Nothing.
Djokovic blames the agent for the mistake that happened in his application. Oh, he posted something. There's no proof of the PCR test that said positive. However, we do have a statement from Djokovic. Djokovic said in his statement that he attended a basketball game on December 14, after which it was reported that a number of people tested positive for COVID-19. He continued saying he had no symptoms, but still took a rapid antigen test. 2 days later, although that came back as negative, he took an official and approved PCR test on that same day, December 16th. He proceeded to the tennis event in Belgrade, but per the rapid antigen test he took prior to the event, he was still negative. Quote, I was asymptomatic and felt good, and I had not received a notification of a positive PCR test results until after that event, end of quote. The statement read, although he was slated for a for a photo shoot and interview at his tennis center in Belgrade, Djokovic canceled all other events but the long-standing commitment to that interview of l'équipe. Probably is a French.
It is.
So he wasn't aware, he's saying, of the PCR being positive until after the event. However, people are attacking him, thinking he knew that he was positive and still went out. But he clarified this to the public, to the media. And what are your thoughts on that?
I want to say that I think that's what's been happening to a lot of people
Elvis
where
has
like
left
they
the
think they
building.
have COVID, then they get tested and the test doesn't even come back for 4, 5, 6, 7 days, whatever. And they've been doing their daily lives with COVID, but they didn't know until, the result comes. So that's solid. I can understand that.
PCR tests usually take about a day or two to get your...
I mean, I'm in that space where
results.
like I question even the test results. Like there's been so many bullshit tests saying that it's negative or positive.
Well, the PCR test, if it's too sensitive, you get a lot of false positives. And so the CDC has revised the amount of cycles that constitute a positive test over the past year. So it's like that, and the same thing with the CDC is going through now, which is the people that died from COVID versus with COVID. And the fact, I think they were saying that their numbers are something like 4 comorbidities on average of the people that died from it. So it's, I saw a segment with Jake Tapper and somebody else the other day, and they were all pissed off and upset about like now that they were banning people a year ago for just saying what I just said and deplatforming them. And now the CDC's going, oh yeah, this is the case. And so I've known about this shit for a year, and to see this finally coming out and like Jake Tapper's on CNN, the World Act, and then what's his name, Brian Stetler, the guy that some of the dudes on the internet call him the potato or whatever, because he's kind of shaped like a potato. It's like they're like, oh, I can't believe we're just finding this out. And it's like it was out there a year ago. These people are so fucking incompetent at their jobs. They're useless.
Yeah.
But I think part of it also was cognitive dissonance. They leaned left, so they reported the news and made assumptions and didn't really report the facts. Because as Dostoevsky said, a man who lies to himself and believes his own lies becomes unable to recognize truth either in himself or in anyone else.
Corey with the quotes.
Quote master.
Quote master. Yeah.
Drop mic.
I'm with that. It's just at this point, it's like, I truly believe that people don't have bad intentions. I don't think his intention is to hurt anybody, to get anybody sick. He's out there fulfilling his role as a very famous tennis player who wants to put on a good show. And
He's a wonderful man and a wonderful human being.
He wants to win. Like that's what the athletes do. They want to win. That's all they care about is training, going out there, serving their country via sports, and being the best athlete that they can be. Mm-hmm. I do like his statement though. I really feel like he's again, we don't know this guy personally, but from the statement, like it's just showing that he's a pretty open-minded dude that's really worried about himself and probably, his family and his close ones. And that's all and he's like pitching out how important it is to be free. And I like that about him.
Well, I agree with that. Like he's Aaron Rodgers doing what Aaron Rodgers did. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, like I had it already. I consult with my doctors, and it's not worth it to increase my risk for these things that I'm prone to have based on my doctor's advice. So I'm not taking the risk. So I'm not taking it. Well, there's been some interesting developments in the Djokovic case. So, Estefania, could you bring us up to speed as to what's happened since we filmed the first part of this news segment?
Yes, of course. So if everybody followed the story of Novak Djokovic, he obviously was trying to play in the Australian Open, but couldn't. And he was deported from Melbourne on Sunday after losing a court bid to have a cancellation of his visa overturned.
So they basically told him, hey, come on in, no problem. We would love to have you play at the Australian Open. And he says, I have an exemption because what did he say? He already had COVID, and that's why he didn't take the vaccine? And
He
so
had
he's
COVID,
like, I got
yes.
natural immunity, so I don't need it.
Yes, he had COVID twice.
And then the authorities said, you're good. Come on in. Here's your visa. And then when he got there, they're like, they put the brakes on.
Breaks down because what happened was he wasn't supposed to be out 2 weeks prior before going to Australia, and he broke that. So that was another
So he was
issue.
supposed to quarantine for 2 weeks before he went?
Yeah.
And he didn't do that?
He didn't do that.
So he did a naughty.
Yeah. So they had to open not investigation, but they had to look into that, and they came to the conclusion that he should be deported, which deportation can lead to a 3-year ban on returning to the country. So maybe for future Australian Opens, he won't be able to go or even travel.
And is he like the number one in the world?
He is number one
tennis
tennis player
in the world, and they're going, no, you're not going to come play here because you didn't follow our rules.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's already had COVID twice.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, because the thing is they need to have their vaccine. If you don't have the vaccination, you can't come inside.
And they don't care
Australia.
about natural immunity there?
No,
So
Australia
it
was
doesn't matter.
more, they were talking about the vaccine because the spectators needed to be vaccinated too. The staff needed to be vaccinated and the players. But obviously he got the exemption because of the whole...
Because he had already had it, right?
He had
so
it.
Like, oh, hey, you got
But-
natural immunity. Come on in. You're good.
Yes, but with this issue of not quarantine for 2 weeks before going to Australia and having misinformation written in his application when he was in the airport.
Oh, so he lied on his application.
He doesn't say it was him. He's blaming
One of his staff,
correct. Did
one
that.
of his underlings did that.
Correct. So that kind of brought heat into his whole case.
And then what happened next?
Well, next what happened, he went,
And
had
then?
to leave. And the next on his plate is the French Open. The French Open is
So they
happening
basically
in May.
kicked him out. Is he like banned for like 3 years now? Or is he allowed to come back next year?
I read, and it just said deportation can lead to a 3-year ban. I'm not sure if they... So yes, it's confirmed to be deported, but it's open, so it can change in the next years. But I'm not sure.
So they basically can say you're not coming back for 3 years.
Yes. Yep. And the next thing that's supposed to happen is a French
What
Open.
was the comment that they made that they were worried because he didn't take the vaccine that it would have a negative effect on their citizens, and some citizens would go, well, the best tennis player in the world didn't get vaccinated. Why should I? Wasn't there something like that one of the politicians had said that we can't have this guy come in because it might cause Australians to not get vaccinated?
I think when we talked about it, Australians were upset that he wasn't vaccinated, but I'm not with the politicians. Because the Australians weren't happy that at first when he got the exemption, they were not happy with that. They were going against him because it wasn't fair to them.
They have to get vaccinated. Otherwise, there's in some areas, I think it's like a $5,000 fine if they don't get vaccinated.
According to The Guardian, there's a paragraph that says Australia's Immigration Minister Alex Hawke personally cancelled the unvaccinated world number one's visa, arguing his presence in Australia could incite civil unrest and encourage others to eschew vaccination against COVID-19. Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I can understand where they're coming from, but the reality is if somebody's got natural immunity, because he had it twice.
He had it in the summer, and then he got it in
his
December.
argument is, why should I have to take the vaccine? I've already had it, so I got natural immunity. Was that what he was claiming? That was his position?
His position.
And so the politicians basically going, oh, we can't let him in because he might cause other people to not get vaccinated, that we want to get vaccinated. And we fine them if they don't get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I can't really say too much on that because I'm not allowed to.
No. So
that'll have to go in the members area, what I
Yeah.
really think.
So that's what happened for Australia. Now, it's for the French Open. Obviously, Djokovic could face more trouble after France insisted on a COVID pass barring the unvaccinated from all sports arenas. So a member of the French parliament, Christophe Castaner, said that the new law will apply to anyone who wants to play in the French Open, a reversal of earlier plans to create a bubble around the tournament. So the bubble was like something the NBA also did for their players, I remember, last year. And
I'm sure that was a big success.
Correct. And someone went on television, was the sports minister, Roxana. She told BFM that, quote, to do your job, to come for pleasure or leisure, to practice a sport, it will be necessary to present a vaccine. This will be valid for people who live in France, but also for foreigners who come to our country for vacation or for a major sports competition, end quote.
So you can't go to France unless you got a vaccine.
Correct. Europe is a little more strict on that.
I'm glad I went to, I had a great time with one of my old girlfriends in Paris for a couple of weeks. What a great romantic city it was. And this was before they installed all the bulletproof glass around the Eiffel Tower because of issues they're having with people that, what's the phrase I'm looking for? We'll just leave it at the bulletproof glass and why it's there.
And then, obviously, after the French Open, the U.S. Open comes. It usually occurs towards the end of August to September. It's like 2 weeks. And the U.S. Tennis
Association. But it's in New York, right?
Yes, that's in New York. So, New York, the guidelines are you have to have vaccine, but they're still trying to put in more rules throughout the time, seeing the progress of the new virus and how it affects people.
Yeah, the governor's a communist or more of a fascist if you look at the actual definition of fascism. As Mussolini, who created fascism, said, fascism is the perfect merger of state and corporate interests. So you basically have the government bureaucrats in cahoots with the corporate oligarchs running and regulating every aspect of society. That's what fascism is. And so when you look at people, especially politicians and people in the news, going, he's a fascist, Trump's a fascist, he's a fascist. They're the actual fascists. That's the corporate power that's running everything and making all the decisions. People project. And part of Marxism, part of rules for radicals, I think it was Saul Alinsky, accuse your enemy, what you're guilty of doing. And so all the people saying that Trump was a fascist, they were the actual fascists. They were projecting. Because all you got to do is how the governor of New York is behaving. She's acting like a fascist. That's the perfect merger of state and corporate interests.
Oh, damn.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, that's my opinion on the news.
On that news piece.
I won't be going to New York anytime soon.
Oh, I don't miss New York. It's cold. Super cold.
I've been there. Been there with my girlfriend and her little baby girl, and so long ago. It was right after September 11th we were there. A year later. Wow. Almost exactly a year later. We went to Ground Zero. It was great. We had a great time there. I went to my cousin's wedding.
Memories, yeah.
It was a blast.
What were you, 21? No, you were 1.
I was 1 year old. Yeah. My brother, I think, is still in the belly at that time.
Yeah, Crazy. She was, what was she, about 6, I think, at the time?
Wow. Did you go to the Statue of Liberty or no?
We went. We didn't go to the Statue of Liberty, but we saw the Statue of Liberty.
From a far distance.
Yes.
Super cute. Well, moving on to Djokovic.
It was a great trip, by the way. We had a blast.
That's good. Definitely those memories are...
It was a good family time.
Worthwhile, yeah. Moving on to Djokovic, he might come to another issue because of sponsors. Now, will sponsors cancel Djokovic this year? And moving on, it's a big issue that's going on because obviously he's a number one player and the sponsors love him, but of course he's not vaccinated, and we're not sure if sponsors will want to cut with him or just speak with him with more details. So the French apparel brand Lacoste messaged him saying that they wish to speak with him following his deportation from Australia. So, and currently...
Tell them they can take their clothing line and stick it up their fucking fascist ass. Mm-hmm. Asses. Plural. Because it's a lot of them.
And another story that popped
or
up.
Else we'll make your life miserable and will cost you millions of dollars.
So maybe the reason why Djokovic isn't getting the vaccine is because of his percentage he has with his biotech firm, which is 80%. And it's...
Yeah, you could make the argument that it's a conflict of interest. He's saying, I'm not going to take the vaccine because my company's developing a therapeutic, and if I get it again, I'll take the therapeutic. You look at it that way. I don't know what the answer is, but I mean, I can also understand that, what's his name? Fauci was, I don't know how many months ago, he was on all over the news saying that if you've had COVID, that you develop natural immunity, and that's really strong. Now, how long it lasts, I don't think they know. I haven't seen anything where they say they know how long natural immunity lasts, because even with all the different vaccines, that's why you got to have boosters, is because the efficacy drops over time. But like I said, you have to check what the CDC says on their website, because that stuff is always changing. But like I said, I can see the perspective is if he's investing in his biotech that's developing a therapeutic, then you could say, well, he's not taking a vaccine because he's got a conflict of interest. He's got a big, 80%, that's a big, I don't know how much that investment was, but that's a lot of dough.
Is big.
It's a lot of Jack.
Yep. And him, his wife, so both of them. So probably she's the next one who would do a therapeutic one, if anything.
So all these politicians and corporations are trying to squeeze him financially to get him to comply with what they want, which is if he wants to play, he better take the vaccine. And that clothing company, I don't know what their position is. Maybe they want to try to force him to take the vaccine. Maybe they forced all their employees to take it. I don't know. But it's like, who stands to benefit based on what he does? Yeah, you can see he stands to benefit, and so do the corporations.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Djokovic, when he said his quote about injecting anything in your body, a person should do it if he or she feels comfortable with. So
yeah, and the United States, the way the Constitution's written is that we're free men and women, and we own our bodies. They belong to us. They don't belong to the government. The government doesn't grant us rights. The Constitution is actually it's written to restrain the government and say specifically, these are the rights people naturally have, and therefore you can't infringe upon them. And a lot of people, because they're ignorant, they don't understand that, and they think that the government is the one that grants us the rights. And the way the Constitution is written, it says these rights already exist. They come from the Creator. It's in the second line of the Declaration of Independence. That's where all this comes on. It's assumed there's a Creator, and that we're here at the design and the pleasure of the Creator, and therefore the government really has no say. The Constitution is meant to restrain the government from being tyrannical against individual citizens, which is different in a communist nation, because in the communist or the socialist nation, all human beings are basically drones that the state owns and grants rights to, and if you don't comply, they squash you like a bug, basically, because you're a disposable commodity. In China, they harvest your organs.
That doesn't sound good.
Nothing goes to waste.
That doesn't sound good.
Nothing personal, it's just business.
Nothing personal but business.